name is Paula Ruth Gilbert, Dr. Paula Ruth Gilbert, which some people insist on. I am officially listed as Professor of French, Canadian, and Women and Gender Studies. A sort of a title that I gave to myself because I knew I was going to be half-time officially in modern and classical languages and in French and in women's studies. Then women's studies, now women and gender studies. It's hard to say how many years I've been affiliated with the Women and Gender Studies program because it's pre-founding since I founded it. So it's been in my mind for about 2 years before it actually got started, which is, I don't remember when. But in any case, which leads to the second question, what did my role entitle? I am half-time in Women and Gender Studies. Originally in 1989, I can't remember, the 88, 89, 90 something, quite a while ago. I was dean of the college, the then College of Arts and Sciences, which is now obviously been split into the College of Science, Visual and Performing Arts, because I had that as well, and the College of Science. I was the only woman in the administration, by the way, so that was the other very interesting thing. I misstated. There was a dean of the School of Nursing who was female. And everybody said, well, that's because it's nursing. Okay, but as far as anybody in the administration, any of the deans, any of the associate deans, provost, associate provosts, vice presidents, and some was all men. And I decided that in my role as dean, I had seen a lot of women throughout the college, tons and tons of different disciplines, working on issues of women and gender. And yet we had no women's studies program. I decided that it was about time because I saw that there now was a critical mass of women, a couple of men, but predominantly women, who had received tenure. And once they received tenure and promotion to associate professor, they were feeling a bit more secure. They didn't have to do exactly what they were told to do by the department chairs and so on. And so I decided that this was really the time to do something. I also had the sense, very self-serving, that when I did step down as dean, which I figured I would do at some point, I wanted a place to go back to, as well as in French, which I absolutely love as well. But I didn't want to do it alone, because in typical feminist style, I didn't want a top-down way of starting something. So I contacted then the chair of the Department of Communication, Anita Taylor, who was one of the strongest feminists we had on campus at the time, only recently retired a couple of years ago. And I asked if, we talked, and I asked if she would be willing to send a joint letter with me to all of the people in the university who were working on these kinds of issues, teaching and doing research, doing activist work in the community and so on. And she was delighted, and we sent a letter, and we called a meeting at the end of the spring semester, whenever that year was, probably 89, within a year, okay, 88, 89, or 90. And we got a small room, and so many people showed up to work on the development of women's studies. They were hanging out in the halls and sitting on the floor. It was absolutely one of those sort of moments that you'll never forget, because all of these people, oh my God, we're finally going to be able to make something that's real, and that's what I'm doing. And people volunteered for everything. And we had a small group of women who decided that they would work on developing the program and developing sample courses to put before the college and so on, and the university. And they did that over the summer when they were, we don't get paid. And by the fall, we had something done. We had an incredible program put down with the original one. We didn't have the reps course at the time, but we had certainly intro course and feminist theory across the disciplines and so on and so forth. This was just for a minor at the time. I also my other part of my role. What did your role entitle? Was to get funding. So as dean, I went to every other dean, contacted everybody, including the School of Law in Arlington, and I asked for money, and everybody gave me money. I then had this vision in my mind, and so if anybody wants to complain about it, they can come to me. It was my vision that we should truly have the combination of the academic and we would then call student affairs, are now university life, obviously. That I really wanted to see this combination, that I wanted to see this positive tension, and we are now, as a result, the only university program in women and gender studies in the country. that has this. So it's really quite amazing. That's why Susanna Scott and I keep saying, yes, we're going to keep this, keep this going and so on. And I got money from everybody. I went to the provost, the new provost, okay, who was a woman, and she said she was not going to support it financially. She was afraid to ask the president, the then president, George Johnson, because she had asked him for too many things. I was floored. I was absolutely shocked because she had just come in. She was a woman. I figured, this was during the following year. She had just come in. So I went directly to the president, and he said, of course, absolutely no problem. And it was approved, and we got it going, and it was just, it was literally moving, forward very quickly. A lot of people, a lot of faculty involved.